Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like the colors around you just faded? Not wrong, not ugly, just quiet. As if the vibrant woman you used to be was still there, just wrapped in shades that didn't speak for her anymore. You're not alone. And this isn't about chasing attention or looking younger. It's about feeling seen again. Feeling like you walk into a room and still have presence. In this video, I want to show you how color, not trends or makeup, can bring that light back. We'll walk through 8 colors that are quietly powerful, emotionally rich, and proven by psychology to make people, yes, even men, see you in a new way. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're letting yourself be more you. Let me tell you about Judith. She's 71, lives in a cottage near Lake Erie, keeps birdseed on the windowsill, and her husband's old vinyls in a pine cabinet. For years, she wore nothing but navy and beige, safe, kind, invisible. But one Sunday, for no reason other than spring arriving early, she wore a deep sapphire blouse to church. That morning, 3 different people told her how alive she looked. One man, a widower, offered her a seat and said, "That color suits your spirit." Judith smiled, but later told me, "I think I forgot I had one. So let's remember. Let's walk gently through these colors. Not to impress, but to reconnect. To feel open again. Seen again. And most of all, at home with ourselves again. Ready? Let's begin. 1. Red, the color that says, "I'm still here." It wasn't the color she reached for. It was the one that fell into her hands by accident. You know those days when you're digging through winter bins, just looking for an old pair of gloves, and your fingers land on something else? Something you forgot you even kept. That's how Eileen found her red corduroy jacket. She's 69, lives in a 2-bedroom near Asheville with a porch swing and an AARP calendar pinned above her stove. She pulled that jacket from a storage tote labeled "Donate" and paused. The sleeves were still cuffed the way she liked them. The inside pocket still held a church bulletin from 2014. "I thought I gave this away," she said. Then she tried it on. It fit like memory. Red isn't about turning heads. Not at our age. It's about returning to yourself. About finding one small thing that doesn't whisper, "blend in," but quietly reminds you still carry heat. I remember putting on a faded cranberry flannel for a grocery run after my hip surgery. I hadn't been out in weeks. I wasn't feeling bold. But that shirt, well, it held something I needed. I didn't get compliments. I just got eye contact. And that, somehow, was more. See, we often stop wearing red because we think it's too much. But sometimes it's just enough to pull us out of our grayscale days. Enough to feel not younger, but brighter, more alive. Some colors don't age out. They wait for you to come back to them. Next, let's walk towards something softer, a color that doesn't announce itself, but wraps you up like a Sunday morning. Let's talk about pink. The right kind. The quiet kind. 2. Soft pink. The kindness that wraps around you. It's funny what you find when you clean out the linen closet. Not the towels or the old pillowcases, but the tiny things tucked behind them. Envelopes, scarves, a lavender sachet long dried out. Or, in Doris's case, a pale pink sweater folded beneath a stack of holiday tablecloths. She held it up to the light and said, "I forgot how soft this was." It still smelled faintly of rose soap. Soft pink has a way of slipping out of sight. We put it away thinking we've outgrown it, that gentleness is something for younger women. But sometimes, in the quiet of our own homes, It calls us back. Doris is 66, lives alone outside of Springfield in a tidy ranch with lace curtains and a teapot that whistles whether she needs it to or not. That day, she was gathering clothes to donate, 2 bags already packed for Goodwill, but that pink sweater stayed behind. It reminds me of Sunday potlucks, she said, running her hand over the sleeve. Of when I felt safe. I know what she meant. Years ago, after my wife passed, I opened the kitchen drawer she used to keep her scarves in. Tucked in the back was a pale pink bandana, one she wore when baking mostly. I almost put it in the toss pile, but instead, I tied it around the neck of a little bear she'd kept on our bookshelf. I didn't need the scarf. I needed the softness. You see, soft pink isn't about looking pretty. It's about remembering that gentleness is still allowed, that not everything has to be bold or practical. Some colors are for comforting, for holding, for being held. Some pieces don't dress you, they steady you. Next, let's reach for something richer. A color that speaks not loudly but deeply, the kind that holds a certain mystery and a quiet confidence too. Let's talk about purple. 3. Emerald green, the shade that grounds and glows. She didn't mean to cry over a casserole dish, but it was a Tuesday and she'd been clearing out the hutch, trying to make room for something that didn't need dusting. In the back, wrapped in old newspaper, was a faded emerald green apron. You know the kind with the wide ties and deep front pocket, the one that always had a clothespin or recipe card tucked inside. Carol, 73, lives just outside Boise. 2-bedroom tidy yard and a fridge dotted with grocery lists and grandkids' drawings. That apron belonged to her mother, who wore it every Sunday when pot roast was in the oven. Carol almost set it in the Goodwill pile, but instead, she draped it across the kitchen chair and stood there a while, hands still, eyes misty. "It's silly," she whispered, but green always made her feel calm, like she knew what she was doing. That's the thing about emerald green. It doesn't demand attention. It steadies you. It reminds you of life's quieter rhythms. The porch plants, the recipe cards, the moss that keeps growing where no one looks. If you've got something in that shade, a scarf, an old blouse, even a table runner, try taking it out of storage. Not to use, just to see again. Years ago, I had a forest green cardigan. Simple, worn at the elbows. I used to wear it when raking leaves or reading on the porch. After Ruth passed, I stopped. Too many memories caught in the weave. But one chilly fall, I pulled it on again, more out of habit than courage, and felt a stillness I hadn't felt in months. Like the world slowed down just enough to let me breathe. Emerald green doesn't just glow. It grounds. In seasons of change, it gives you something to hold on to. And for many of us, in the quiet corners of our homes, that matters more than ever. Some colors don't brighten you, they steady you. Next, let's wander into something a little more curious. A shade that invites questions, not answers. Let's open the drawer where purple's been waiting. Soft, deep, and full of quiet dignity. 4. Blue. The confidence you didn't know you needed. She didn't expect to find it in the laundry basket. A faded denim shirt with pearl snaps balled under an old fleece throw. She picked it up, brushed off a bit of lint, and smiled to herself. "Well, you've been quiet for a while," she whispered. Nancy, 70, lives in a small brick home just outside Tulsa. Front porch, wind chimes, pantry full of recipes scribbled on index cards, and a cat named Murphy who likes the windowsill more than people. The denim shirt, sky blue and a little stretched in the sleeves, was the one she wore the day she drove herself to her first job interview in 20 years. It wasn't the most stylish thing, but she said it made her feel steady, capable, herself. Sometimes confidence doesn't look like a power suit or high heels. Sometimes it's soft cotton and familiar buttons. And sometimes, in the act of sorting through our closets, making space, letting go, we come across a piece that reminds us we've done brave things before. That's what I felt not long ago when I cleaned out the coat hooks by the door. I found an old navy raincoat of mine, creased at the sleeves, still smelling faintly of cedar. I hadn't worn it since Ruth's memorial. It took me a minute to decide if I wanted to keep it, but in the end I did, not out of sentiment, out of respect, for the man who stood tall that day, even when everything inside him was falling. Blue has that quiet power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, but it carries you, especially on the days you need to stand firm but don't know how. If you come across something blue while decluttering, don't rush the choice. Ask yourself how it made you feel back then, and whether you still need that feeling now. Blue isn't bold, it's brave. Now, let's move gently towards something softer, but no less powerful. A color that once felt romantic, maybe even girlish. But today, it's become something wiser. Let's talk about purple, the quiet kind. 5. Lavender and plum, quiet mystery, grown elegance. Some colors don't ask to be noticed. They wait for quiet. For late afternoons, when the light turns soft across the windowsill. That was the kind of afternoon Sharon had when she opened the cedar chest at the foot of her bed. Sharon, 69, lives alone in a small house near Asheville. Handmade quilts folded by season, a rocking chair she thrifted from Goodwill for $6, and shelves lined with AARP booklets she's too sentimental to toss. Inside that cedar chest was a lavender shawl, delicate, embroidered, and untouched since her retirement party 10 years ago. She held it to her cheek and said, "I used to wear this when I felt unsure. It made me feel composed." Lavender and plum, they're not loud, but they linger. They sit with you in the quiet. They hold old letters, old memories, old versions of yourself that maybe still matter. If you come across one of those pieces, maybe in a sock drawer, maybe wrapped in tissue in the back of a closet, don't rush to discard it. Drape it over your shoulder. Look in the mirror. Ask softly, "Do I still feel something here?" I remember years back when I found Ruth's plum cardigan in the laundry room, still faintly scented with her rose water. I didn't wear it, of course, but I laid it across the arm of her chair and just sat beside it. I didn't cry. I just felt her. That presence. That quiet strength she carried when words weren't needed. These shades, lavender, plum, they're not about impressing anyone. They're about remembering the depth we've lived through, the quiet mysteries we've carried, the elegance that doesn't fade even when we feel invisible. Some colors don't dress you, they hold you. Next, let's open the drawer that glimmers a little. A tone not everyone dares to keep, but maybe it's exactly what the day has been missing. Let's talk gold. Not glitter, grace. 6. Gold and bronze, the glow you carry with you. It's funny how the smallest things can surprise us, like a drawer that hasn't been opened in years. Judith opened hers last week, third drawer, down in the old walnut vanity, the one she kept meaning to sort. Tucked between loose buttons and half-used blush was a gold hair clip, dull with time but still catching light. Judith is 72, lives in a one-bedroom cottage near Santa Fe. She doesn't wear much jewelry anymore, says she prefers comfort these days, elastic waists and soft cardigans. But that clip? That was from a cruise to Nova Scotia 20 years ago. She wore it with a bronze scarf, her hair pinned up, dancing to a song she'd forgotten the name of, but not the feeling. "I don't dress like that anymore," she told me, but when I saw it again, I remembered how alive I felt. That's the thing about gold and bronze. They're not just colors. They're reflections. Not of who we were, but of who we still are, beneath the quiet routines, beneath the grays and beiges. When you declutter, look for the pieces that shimmer just a little, even in dim light. A metallic thread in a scarf, a bronze button on a jacket you almost gave away. Keep one. Wear it to breakfast. Let yourself glow, even if just for you. I once found a copper mug in the back of our kitchen cabinet. Tarnished, sure, but it was Ruth's favorite. She used to make Moscow meals in it on quiet Sundays, even when it was just the two of us. I polished it that day, not because I needed the mug, but because I needed the memory. I needed to remember that there is beauty we carry, even in the smallest rusting things. Some things shine not because they're new, but because we remember who we were when we wore them. And sometimes, in between the shimmer and softness, we long for something grounding, honest, like the clean simplicity of white, quiet but unmistakable. Let's go there next. 7. White and ivory, where grace meets simplicity. There's a kind of stillness that only white can hold, not empty, not cold, just enough. You know that drawer, the one under the old toaster oven with the extra tablecloths and a few holiday napkins? Eleanor found a set of ivory linen placemats there last month. Folded neat, edged in delicate embroidery, never used. She said she'd kept them for someday, the kind of someday that keeps quiet and never arrives. At 72, Eleanor lives alone now in a one-bedroom unit just outside Boise. Her kids have moved away, and the house she and Frank built is long sold. In her new place, space is gentle. She told me, "I'm not decorating anymore. I'm choosing what lets me breathe." That day, she laid those ivory placemats on her tiny round kitchen table. She made tea for herself, and when the light came through the blinds, hitting that soft fabric, she just sat back and smiled. "It felt like I gave myself permission," she said. There's a quiet power in white and ivory. These aren't colors that compete. They don't try to impress. They invite you to rest, to return to yourself. And in a world that keeps telling older women to shrink, to stay neutral, there's something quietly rebellious about choosing simplicity on your own terms. So here's a little step you might take. Open that hall closet or check the bottom of your cedar chest. Find one white piece. Could be a blouse you thought was too plain, or an ivory scarf you packed away for fancier days. Wash it, steam it if you can, and wear it next Tuesday. Not for church, not for company, just for your own kitchen, just to see what still feels true. I remember a soft moment with my late sister, Jo. She wore this loose white tunic one summer afternoon, barefoot, humming while folding towels. Nothing remarkable. And yet the peace in that picture, her quiet, the way the cotton moved, it stuck with me. Some things don't need color to shine. They glow by standing still. White isn't absence, it's allowance. We've spent time now with color that wraps, lifts, and remembers. But before we bring this little walk to a close, there's one final space I want to visit with you, a moment to pull it all together, gently. Let's meet there in the soft closing chapter. 8. Black, the line between soft and strong. Ever notice how certain things just hold weight? Not because they're heavy, but because of what they've seen. There's a black wool coat hanging on Nadine's back door. It's been there since March, even though winter left a while ago. She doesn't wear it anymore. Not really. But she hasn't put it away either. When I asked her about it, she laughed a little and said, "That coat's been with me longer than my second marriage." 1974. Lives in a cozy duplex near Portland, filled mostly with books and dried lavender bundles. Her space is tidy but lived in. The coat came from a thrift store in 1986, black with silver buttons, lined in satin that's now fraying just at the wrist. She wore it to court the day she filed for divorce, and again when she walked her granddaughter to kindergarten. It's not fashionable anymore, but when she looks at it, it still feels like strength. Sometimes, in the work of decluttering, we're not choosing what to throw away. We're choosing which version of ourselves we want to keep. If you have a black dress or blazer or scarf tucked behind brighter things, one that you haven't worn since the job ended or the dinner party stopped, try bringing it out this week just to feel it. Maybe you'll keep it, maybe not. But let yourself decide from now, not from memory. For me, black has never been about mourning. It's been about clarity, about trimming back the noise. I had a black sweater I used to wear to hospital visits when my brother was ill, not to hide, but to feel composed when the world was anything but. That sweater gave me a kind of quiet armor, soft outside, steady inside. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. Some things we keep not because they're beautiful, but because they knew who we were becoming. And maybe, friend, that's the real magic of color. Not what it says to others, but what it gently says back to us. In this final step, let's gather all we've uncovered and return quietly to what still fits the life you want now. There's something tender about endings, isn't there? Not sad, just quiet. Like when the last light in the hallway turns off and the room feels more like home than ever. We've spent this time together walking through 8 colors, and none of them were really about clothes. They were about memory, meaning, and the quiet ways we try to hold on to who we've been. And who we're still becoming. Red reminded us we're still here. Pink held our softness. Green brought renewal. Blue grounded us. Purple whispered mystery. Gold let us glow. White gave us grace. And black. Black reminded us we can be soft and strong at once. But now comes the part that matters most. You. Tomorrow morning, I hope you'll stand in front of your closet, not with dread or habit, but with a question in your chest. What would bring me forward today? Not what fits the old version of you, not what stays hidden behind the cardigans you keep just in case, but what quietly invites you to be seen, more as you are, less as you were trying to be. You might be surprised. It might be a blouse you haven't touched since your last birthday dinner with friends, or a scarf in a shade you loved when you felt more free. You don't need to shop. You don't need to change. You might just need to remember. I'll ask you something gently. What's one color you used to wear when you felt beautiful, soft or bold or truly yourself? Maybe it's tucked away now, behind holiday sweaters or old work jackets. Try it again. Let it speak to you, even for just an afternoon at home. And if, in the middle of this remembering, someone crosses your mind, a sister, an old friend, a neighbor who's been feeling a little faded, send her this video. Let her know she's not alone in wanting to feel radiant again, because we don't grow out of beauty. We grow into a deeper version of it, and I'll be here when you need the reminder. With a gentle voice, and maybe a story or two, you're still radiant, still becoming. And color, my dear, is just one soft way to come home to yourself.